Hello and welcome to Coffee and Chats.
Hello.
Today's episode is brought to you by that feeling when you're wandering around a supermarket and you don't want to leave yet, but you don't really think you need anything. I'm Daniel White, and today I'm joined by Michael Deasy.
Michael Deasy, that's me. What? Okay, hello. I'm Mikey, as usual.
And we're not joined by any guests this week.
No guests this week for
Just
us.
the two of us.
Yeah.
Hot and heavy.
Classic CNC action going on here.
Real. Bringing it back to its roots.
Real season one thing. Season one kind of feel here.
Season zero.
Season zero. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Strictly season zero before any ancillary characters are introduced.
That's true. Yeah.
So obviously, for those of you paying attention, in the last episode we did mention that Jonathan would be allowed to stay with us if we had more views in the second one than the first one, which we didn't. So fortunately, he won't be joining us again. No, and we should have the blood cleaned up by next week, and then we'll have a new guest.
Yay!
Which will be made of his constituent parts, hopefully in a more pleasing fashion.
Yes.
So join us then. It's
kind of like a Frankenstein deal.
Yeah. Same principles.
Yeah, it meets something else. I was going to make another reference there. A more kind of modern reference. But Frankenstein's very timeless, so but hopefully this new Jonathan will be a lot more. He'll bring in the people a lot more. I think
he'll bring in the fans.
Yeah, bring in some fans and stuff. I don't know what the problem was. Like I said, like, comment, and subscribe so many times. It just doesn't work. Yeah.
No, I know what you mean. I don't know. I think it must have just been that his model was faulty. I mean, I'm sure the next one will.
Yeah, the next one. Yeah.
Sort out some of the bugs anyway.
Yeah. It's, even Jonathan Vista. That's a very dated joke.
Don't worry about it.
I won't. Yeah, I won't worry too much.
I'm sure the hatred for Vista will long outlive either of us.
Fucking Vista.
I love how it's like it wasn't that bad, but it did just enough things wrong that it upset everybody.
Yeah.
Poor Vista. It was doomed from the start.
It was, yeah.
I mean, it had to follow XP, which was just a super solid operating system.
I have a desktop inside that still uses XP, and it's just fine. Like,
I had to use XP it was for a project in college. We had to use a remote machine that used XP, and it's so weird going back to XP. It's like actually nostalgic.
Yeah.
It's as close as I come to real nostalgia, because I basically have terrible memory, and so I don't remember enough things to be nostalgic. But I spent so much time on my computer as a kid that going back to XP is like genuinely like, oh god, I'm 13 again. Everything is terrible.
Yeah.
let me just open up some Linkin Park and play Dawn of War, Winter Assault, and sulk.
Good, better times, I think.
Simpler times, certainly.
Yeah, definitely simpler. We thought they were better times, but
I don't like being an adult either. But I don't know.
Sorry, I was just unloading my little something. I'm not gonna say it.
That's a good idea. Yeah, but it's definitely safer to have it unloaded. I mean, keeping one of them cocked in a room is just really dangerous.
Yeah.
Just we're not professionals. Let's be honest.
That's true. Yeah,
we couldn't handle it.
I get the crossbow control is a very big problem these days. Like, they don't really put much effort into it.
Yeah, government's just not trying hard enough.
They're not. No.
So seamless segue onto another topic from last week. The lion from MGM.
Yeah, we mentioned this lion before, and we're like, we're going to do our research.
We actually did. Yeah. Both of us did, which was so surprising, because I was listening to last week's podcast earlier today, and I was like, oh yeah, we should do that research. And I just did my research, and that literally consists of typing it into Google and then just seeing what comes up.
Yeah, I just read the Wikipedia article.
Oh, okay.
I was just afraid of being wrong on the internet, so I wanted to check my facts.
Absolutely reasonable. I read the Wikipedia article, and I read the Snopes page about the urban myth that the lion ate its trainer. Interestingly enough, there's actually loads of urban myths around the lions. Like there's an old urban myth about how originally it wasn't supposed to roar, but it did, because while they were recording, some burglars broke into the studio or something.
Oh, okay.
And that's obviously completely false, because that would be a really weird. That wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And as well as,
but imagine being those imaginary burglars and just going seeing that the one place we pick and it has a lion.
What are the chances? Hey, lions are worth millions.
But it wasn't filmed in Dublin. It was, but the first lion anyway was born in Dublin Zoo. That's what I was remember.
Absolutely right.
That's what I was trying to say last time.
The first lion was born in Dublin Zoo. I can't say for sure where the rest of the lions were born.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them. Yeah,
but there's 7 in total. They're on their 7th right now, and it's weird because they're all called like Leo the lion, from the company's point of view.
Yeah.
But they all actually have their own names as well.
Oh yeah.
Like the first one's called I think Slats.
Oh yeah.
Which I think is a type of window. But yeah, he's called Slats, and I'm pretty sure he was the one who during the sort of mid 1920s they actually took the lion on tours. They brought him places and showed off the lion.
Oh, okay.
And it was like advertised as like the MGM lion, and so they had a special plane for it with a cage built inside the plane, and it was flying from San Diego to New York, and it actually crashed in the Arizona desert. And so like the story as it's told is that the pilot was like, well, obviously I need help, and he got all the food in the plane, which consisted of like some milk, some like a really small amount of lion food, and just his sandwiches, and he just gave them all to the lion and left, and like tried to find help, and eventually he got found by people, and then he got a call from the company, and they're like, how's the lion? And it's like they weren't concerned about him at all. It's like, yeah, if you were able to find help, you must be fine, or they just didn't care because he wasn't part of the brand. But the lion was fine. They went back to the cage. He didn't seem to mind that much, and then he retired in Philadelphia Zoo.
Oh.
So he had a pretty eventful life, but he was all right.
That is a career.
That's a career.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, I'd love to retire in a zoo.
Yeah.
Just a Daniel exhibit.
Just retiring there. I remember I was in Krakow Zoo in Poland last time I was there, and it was a very fun zoo. But there was myself, my girlfriend Domi, we're there, and there is a peacock. Cool. Usually they have peacocks walking around.
Yeah.
But this one was kind of a bit like he didn't really have any food or anything, so he wasn't that relaxed. So when he saw us, he put up his feathers, and he was kind of a bit scared at us. And then Donnie went up to him and got like really cool pictures of it. But like we wanted to get by because there was parrots on the other side of him, and then we were like, oh yeah, cool. There's more birds over there, and we tried to get by it, and it just kept going like shaking at us and like just like wanting to attack us. Well, not attack us, but he was scared.
Yeah.
So he was just like it was like he wanted to attack us, but he was just really scared. But he just kept shaking at us, and he was quite angry, I think. But we were just like, we'll just go around. We'll go a long way. Like
it's all right.
And then last time we went and then we go back to that part, and we did see the peacock just with his feathers down, poking at some bread on the ground that like the zookeepers put down, and loads of kids just walking by it and just like, what the hell, man? Aren't you like,
what's your deal?
What's your deal? And there was a bunch of meerkats as well that we kept saying were like a boy band because they're just meerkats are the biggest posers ever. They'll run around and just kind of stand on like a stump, and they would all pose together, like and look at look like in the distance, and they're like models and stuff. But like we get like group pictures of them that look like a boy band photo. It's just great. But zoos are pretty cool.
Yeah, zoos are great. They're a really interesting idea. I'm not sure when the first zoo was. I think it was actually in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, in like the 1920s. I might be completely wrong, but yeah, zoos are really cool.
Yeah.
They're like a really nice way of looking at animals.
Yeah.
And also reminding people animals exist.
Yeah.
And also they make everyone want to be a vet. Just everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be a vet.
You just want to be a vet or like a zookeeper or something. But
did I tell you that Naomi wanted to be a vet for a while, actually?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and then she talked to a vet.
Your girlfriend.
My girlfriend Naomi, not another Naomi I know.
Yeah.
I don't know another Naomi.
I know, but like...
No, I know, yeah.
I know there's the listeners at this point will probably all know her, but
yeah, that's
you
fair.
never know. I just have to say that anyway.
Yeah, sure. But she was interested in being a vet, and she talked to a vet, and the vet was like, well, most of the job was just putting animals down. And she was like, "Oh, never mind."
Yeah,
it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to as well when I was really younger, and I think eventually I was just kind of like, it got a bit too kind of gross to me, just being a doctor in general, and maybe not now, but like when I got a little bit an older kid, I just thought it was a bit gross being a doctor in general. So
that's fair. Yeah, I mean, like it certainly would be interesting, but I think I'd be more interested in like the academic side of things. Like I'd rather be sort of like a biologist of some kind. Geotologist or something. Geotologist is a type of biologist who specializes in cephalopods.
Oh yeah,
because I really think octopuses are like the coolest animal.
Yeah,
I love them so much.
I think they're a bit creepy, but I don't. I'm not. My brother is really doesn't like him at all. So I just grew up in around an atmosphere of like.
I didn't know that about him.
Yeah, no, he's kind of like people. Like I guess when he was younger, he was a bit scared, but now he just is like. He's not scared. He just doesn't like him.
He just doesn't like them.
He just like because when he must have made him scared when he was younger, and he's just like I just don't like him now. They're just too weird and like
they are weird, but
I guess they're cool, but just far away from me.
I think they're really interesting because they're almost, you know, I wouldn't say they're almost as different as possible, but they're so different to people. Like they're so completely different to like kind of traditional animals, if that makes sense. Like I'm about traditional animals, I of course mean mammals on the land because that's what we see most of the time. But like they're so different, they're so weird, and I just think that's fascinating. And they do so many different things. Like they're just really interesting. And also like they're kind of spooky, and they're also like quite dangerous. But the small ones are just really cute.
Oh yeah, the small octopus are just very. I love them.
The ones with the disproportionate.
I was in on an aquarium, the Bray Sea Life one. I was taking my little cousins from the States out there.
Oh cool.
And there was a part with the kind of the ray kind of little tank.
Oh
and
yeah,
it was
yeah.
Up in the top, and they kind of float around. But there's one point where. Because I don't really like aquatic beings kind of being out of the water near me.
That's fair.
I never really liked that because I think they're just kind of a bit slimy and weird. But the ray popped his little head out when splashing.
Yeah.
And he had his little mouth like burp, 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 and he was just kind of splashing, and he splashed water like right on like just kind of splashed it right at my cousin. She's like, that's funny, and then I was like, no, and I just walked away because I thought he was gonna attack me. Like I don't want him to like jump out of the water and get me.
I just love how we were discussing this before we started recording, and we're like, oh, you know what, we don't really have a lot to talk about. This will probably be like a D&D podcast, but no, it's just aquatic fear podcast.
Yeah, aquatic fear.
Yeah, actually,
I used to have a big fear of the ocean.
I still have that thing where when you're in the water, like you're in the ocean, and it's deep enough and dark enough that you can't see like around you and under you.
Yeah.
That always spooks me a little bit. I try not to think about it too much because obviously, like logically speaking, you're fine. But it's just I think there's just something about like the unknown that gets to you. You know, like you're like there and you're like I can't see what's under me. And even though I know that I'm off the coast of Dublin and there's literally nothing in the water bar jellyfish.
Yeah.
Like I'm still like I'm uncomfortable with the fact that I can't see what's
even
there.
With those jellyfish there, I used to sail. And there was sometimes during sailing when there was a load of jellyfish. Like we were outside like the pier in Dunleary.
Yeah.
And there was a load of jellyfish around the place. And even that like I didn't even want that in my boat because if I capsized and I brought the boat back up again, I was just afraid if I had one jellyfish being there. Like, ew, I don't want to like get like my little like the bucket I have and just kind of get him out. Like, I don't want to go near that. I didn't want him to be in there, you know.
Yeah.
But I used to when I was younger. I used to have a big fear of like mainly because I loved swimming. But of the ocean, I just didn't want to go near.
Yeah,
because I actually I had to start sailing when I was quite young. And at the start, when for the young people who are starting there for like the level 1 kind of course, one of the first things they do is, all right, cool, everyone let's get in the boat and capsize. Because they want to teach, of course, how to get back up again. Yeah. So, and I wouldn't do it for ages. And they probably were laughing at me, but I think a lot of people were like, just do it, come on, you can do it. And it was like, but it was a bit embarrassing. But eventually I just did it, and even after I didn't want to capsize, but I realized that every time I got into the water once, I would want to do it again, you know, because I was enjoying it a lot more ever since. So, like, it's strange because I just kind of like was, as you said, I just wasn't thinking about what could have been.
Yeah, there. Exactly. Yeah, when you're not thinking about it, when you're doing things instead, like when you're swimming or sailing or whatever, or like just doing something that's keeping your mind off things. Yeah, like you feel fine because obviously, like it's just a really irrational fear that only bothers you when you're thinking about it directly. Yeah. But obviously, as soon as you start like doing something else, you're like, oh, that was just silly of me. You know? Yeah. But yeah, there you go.
Aquatic fear.
Aquatic episode 3. Aquatic fear.
I always like in like the YouTube descriptions for this, I never know what to put down because in the first one I was like, Dan and Mikey talk about Foo Fighters, video games, and then like video games, which we talk about for the entire episode, and then at the end we talk about the Marvel films. But I put those 3 down. And then for the second one,
that was so funny.
For like our last one, it was just like they talk about space, cats, D&D,
and other stuff.
Board games, and other things I can't remember.
It's just like I love that. It was so accurate. I was like, I feel the exact same way because people kept doing that to me. They were like, "Oh, what's the podcast about? Like, what's this episode about?" And I'm like, it's a very good question. But yeah, I think that maybe we should write this down somewhere, or just try and remember, or listen back to our own podcast.
Nah, don't fuck that. Like I don't even edit this too much. Like what you're hearing, guys, now is unedited, raw footage.
Oh wow, it is effectively raw.
Yeah, I think the only editing I do is kind of like
clean it up a bit,
and like compress a little bit if it's peaking. Yeah,
that's cool.
I put the music on,
and you throw down some hot jingle.
The hot jingle.
Oh yeah, and we might have and here's a teaser if it hasn't happened yet. We might have a midway jingle now.
Yes,
we might try break up the podcast
or
because
two-way mid jingles.
Yeah, like as depending on how long the podcast is, obviously.
Because I've gotten a couple of people saying that it was the layman wouldn't be used to kind of listen to a podcast quite long, so they might want to look for a natural break. So I think this might help, but that's behind the scenes podcast stuff. But it might not be in this one, but
it might not be in this one.
It might not, but I'll maybe the next one.
Yeah, and if you have any suggestions for jingles, let us know.
Yeah, give me a key to start with.
That'd be really fun.
Hopefully the comments will just be
give me a theme. Give me a key and a theme.
A key and a theme. Yeah, I've always wanted to do like a.
And someone's like D minor regret, and you're like, all right.
I've always wanted to do kind of like a live show of like. You make the song too. Like I think a bunch of like Steve Vai did that once where he got like people to help him write a song right there. Like give me a chord progression right now, or like give me a key first. Like give me like A to G. Give me a letter. I'm like okay B. All right, and then he asks a couple more questions, and he just plays that song with his band just right after, and he just does a solo over it, and then like I always want to do something like that, and just
that's incredible.
Like and maybe have to be like improv comedy to do it as well, but I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do it. That's a lot of skill to that.
Yeah, that's very impressive. That's an impressive display of talent.
But
I'm sure that things like that though, I'd say like, one of the skills of it is obviously doing it so much that it looks effortless. You know? I'd say that doing it is one thing, and then doing it and making it look quite casual is almost a skill in of itself.
Definitely.
That's pretty cool.
It's a cool idea. I've always wanted to do that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you can't unless I'm playing like the triangle. I can't be in your band.
No.
Or I could be a terrible vocalist.
Yeah,
and I'll do that for free.
You're not terrible, but
well, I can't do. I can't. I don't even.
You have a very nice baritone, but you wouldn't be able to do the
like. I wouldn't even try.
We won't be able to do that much Iron Maiden covers. Like,
no, that's fair. Yeah, I certainly couldn't. I could be the bass.
Yeah. So you only play the bass guitar. It's just bass mouth, like.
Just and someone tickles me to make the noises.
Yeah. But there you go, Dan. Well, if you want to be the mouth bass...
If I want to be the mouth bass to your hot new band, then I can. I don't know why.
If you want to hear that, like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah. Actually, that'd be... I don't know. If there's enough support for it, I'll probably do it. I won't like it, but I will do it.
Maybe we should all do it, but I'll just be a cappella.
Yeah, I was going to say that would be a cappella.
Yeah.
Could we do an a cappella? Do we have enough people who could a cappella?
Maybe. I don't know, actually.
I don't know enough about a cappella. I'm
You just need a bunch of good singers. And that's really it.
Okay, interesting.
Good singers who would be able to who get music. So
yeah.
they'll be able to know about harmonies, because a cappella is all about you need to have harmonies and like to make it sound nice, because you don't have any accompanying music. So
okay, cool, interesting.
But
so you can look forward to that, listeners. Possible a cappella band.
Possible a cappella band.
Constant hypothetical a cappella bands. Every new guest we have, it's like, can he fit into the a cappella canon?
A cappella canon.
Yeah.
The a cappella storyline.
The a cappella arc, the background arc, takes place over 7 seasons of Coffee and Chats.
Yeah. 7 seasons?
I don't know. I don't know how long a season is.
Well, they come out, like, to be honest with you, they're very easy to put out, because it's just us talking.
Yeah, it's just us
talking.
No
scripts. We don't so we can just keep... we probably will have, like, more than 7 seasons.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that's true as well, especially if we did, like, which one is it that does shorter seasons? Is it British that does shorter seasons?
British normally does shorter seasons.
Yeah, and it's America does longer seasons. I was going to say that, but I wasn't sure. I wanted to double check.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we did, like, I don't know. If we did sort of 12, 16 episodes to a season? Yeah. In Britain, and then maybe 20 or so in America.
As I said, I wanted Coffee and Chat season 2 to be like when we upgrade a lot more.
When we upgrade,
and we evolve a lot more. And this is just season 0, as Dan calls it.
Oh man, that'd be so cool. It'd be like an anime, It's like you get new gear, you've leveled up.
New gear.
You've
more powers,
more experience. You've learned, about your flaws, and you've changed.
We'll have like a time skip where we come back after training for like 2 years or something, and we'll be more powerful.
Man, you remember when that happened the first time in Bleach?
I haven't watched Bleach. Actually.
You haven't watched Bleach?
No, I haven't watched Bleach.
There's this great bit where the first time he does the training montage into superpower mode, it's because sorry for those of you who don't know about Bleach, which might include DC. It's about what are called like soul reapers, who are basically like people who guide the dead.
Yeah,
and then there's a thing. There's a thing called a hollow, which is like a bad undead, which is basically like an evil spirit or an evil ghost, and they have to like kill these hollows to like sort of, you know, send them into the afterlife effectively. Like, and so like they try to like eat people. They try to like eat people's souls is what they do.
Yeah,
and so it's about a man whose name I've forgotten.
The main character
Ichigo.
Yeah,
it's about Ichigo, and he gets like given temporary powers by another soul reaper. So the Shinigami is the Japanese term.
Yeah, for like a
sort of like a reaper figure, and they're like, you know, they're basically like sort of swordsmen and swordswomen, of course. And so one of them gives him temporary power because she needs help beating up a hollow, and then after that he learns about this whole world, and then the woman who gave him powers is in trouble for giving him powers, and so she's going to be put on trial. So then Ichigo like travels to the spirit world, I think it's called the spirit world, to like basically kind of free her because he feels she hasn't done anything wrong. And he does a training montage in between so that he can face off against all the captains, who are like the super serious soul reaper guys. And so he shows up, and when he first fights them, he just like, one guy like takes out his sword and he just smashes the guy's sword, and like it's insane. He just breaks this sword with his bare hands, and it's like, what? How did you do that? And why did you only do it once? Everyone here fights with swords. If you broke everyone's sword, you would win by default. Like, you know, if you're like, no, I'm the only one left with the sword, they're like, all right, you win. Now there you go.
And that happened, and a time skip happened on that.
Yeah, it was like he just shows up, and he also did like a magic flying cape, which he immediately discarded. And it's like, wait, that was really cool.
There was a time skip in One Piece, actually, where something like a major plot point happens, and they realize we have to train, and then they just do that, and like they're all in separate areas where they're training in their specialized field.
Oh, okay,
like, all the crew, and they just come back, and everyone thinks they're all like gone, and they come back just better in like typical anime fashion, where they're just strong, better and strong, because the show has been kind of writing really overpowered characters, and I think that, like, you know, Oda, the writer, was just like, shit, how do I write this? Time skip.
Let's do the time warp again.
That's anime, though.
Yeah, that's anime.
That's
I haven't watched any sort of long-standing. What are they called?
Shonen. Shonen is the term for that. Yeah, the sort of boys anime where it has like a like fighting, power-upping kind of stuff.
I didn't know that was considered boys anime.
It was shonen. I think shonen is like a term for boy comic.
Oh, I see. Interesting. Yeah. Okay, that's really. I didn't know.
And the main demographic is for teenage boys.
Yeah, of course. Which is why there's so many like attractive women in them as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's Bleach, Naruto, One Piece,
like Dragon Ball Z was the first one.
Dragon Ball Z. Man, Dragon Ball Z was probably really bad in retrospect, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm I absolutely love it, and I just keep like, you know, it's one of my favorite one of them. So
yeah, I get that absolutely.
But I never know how to, you know, watch it now.
Watch it now? Yes,
because there's so many. Because going back on the original English dub, like the Funimation original dub, they've, you know, skipped over a lot of like original storyline stuff. They kind of said that Goku's father was a brilliant scientist. Vegeta says at one point, it's like, your father was a brilliant scientist. And like, because I think they wanted to make him Superman, basically.
Right. Okay,
and they're like, and he's like, no, he's not. He's a rogue who blows up planets.
Yeah,
like,
he was like a soldier.
Yeah.
who was working for Frieza and then went rogue and died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's
I only know of this because of Dragon Ball Z Abridged.
That's how a lot of people know about Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
Which, to be honest with you, Dragon Ball Z Abridged is just a very good version of Dragon Ball Z.
I was gonna say, because like based on like what they've done in the show and also all their like other stuff, because they have other channels, like they have a channel where they do loads of video games. Yeah. It's very clear that they're massive fans. Yeah, they just love the show so much,
and it's kind of like just watching like a new modern dub with just a bunch of jokes in there.
Yeah.
You know, and because that's the best way of making a parody is if you respect the source material so much you can make like a really good parody.
Yeah, I think that's very true. I think like in the same way that I assume Little Karibo is actually a fan of Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah,
or at least enjoyed it enough to sort of.
I think he kind of turned into a fan as he was doing it.
Yeah, actually, that's probably true.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense with him with that. But I never know how to go with Dragon Ball Z of how to like. Let's say if someone said, "I want to watch Dragon Ball Z," like, okay, how do you watch it? Like, there's Kai. What do you watch the original Japanese? No, because they all have their own things of.
Yeah, like. So my understanding is that there's the original Japanese sorry, not dub, but there's the original Japanese with subtitles, I presume.
Yeah.
Which is like obviously kind of the original creation. And then there's Kai, which was released more recently, has a lot of what was considered filler cut out.
Yeah, they kind of like wanted to be a lot more like the original manga, comic.
Yeah.
And they kind of got rid of a lot of filler stuff.
Hang on, we haven't said what Dragon Ball Z is.
Dragon Ball Z is a shonen manga and anime written by Akira Toriyama, and Dragon Ball and the manga is called Dragon Ball, and it's and the anime is Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, and it is one of the most influential shonen animes and for Western audiences.
Yeah,
and it kind of brought anime to a lot of.
And you've almost certainly seen some element of it. If you're on the internet listening to us, you've almost certainly like encountered it in some way, shape, or form. But it's effectively about superhumans fighting with like incredible powers and just really slugging it out. You know, they're so powerful that they can smash open entire planets and things like that.
Yeah.
But
that's that. But
it's kind of weird to explain, actually.
It is kind of, yeah. It's like explaining sitting down to somebody.
you just bend your knee. No, there has to be something there. No, don't fall over.
What was it talking about? Like, what was it?
You're talking about the difference. What Kai was in terms of it was more like the manga.
They kind of want to be more like the comic, and they can speed up things a lot. But they speed up things too much sometimes.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And it's a kind of like, I guess the original had a lot, like if you were into it. There's a lot more kind of atmosphere and like you kind of were able to take it in a lot more.
Yeah.
But then again, it's the English dub right now for it is the same guys as the last one, but they have really stepped up their game and kind of because originally Funimation was just a bunch of people who were like had barely any voice acting experience.
Yeah.
And now they're like they've got like cause Dragon Ball Z, they got themselves a big career, and now they're just like we get to like start again with this Kai, and they're just.
They're full of energy. And
they're able to do it a lot better now.
That's cool.
There's so many versions of Dragon Ball that you just you don't know where to how to tell new people to watch it.
That's how I feel as well. I mean, like I guess the benefit is that I know broadly. I don't know how. I presume just generic cultural osmosis. Like I know what happens in Dragon Ball. Like you know what I mean. Like I know all the major kind of points of all the arcs.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But still, it would be nice to watch it and sort of get an idea of it.
Yeah.
But who's your favorite character?
In Dragon Ball, I'm starting to like while watching it again, mainly in the first couple arcs, I really like Piccolo.
That's really good. That's a good choice. That's a strong.
I think choice. He was really good in the kind of the first couple ones. He's a really good character in that.
Yeah, that's fair.
But he kind of doesn't really. He's kind of put to the sidelines a lot in the later arcs. So.
Yeah, that's definitely. I think that's kind of an unfortunate thing, and I imagine it happens in other animes as well. But it's very apparent in Dragon Ball Z that like anyone who isn't a Saiyan or the bad guy kind of gets really sidelined in terms of power level. And if you couldn't see me, but I was using inverted commas, because that's sort of the measure of strength of everyone in Dragon Ball Z is that they have a power level. And if you have the right training, you can look at someone and detect their power level.
But that it was kind of introduced though to kind of be meaningless because your power level can be anything really. Because a lot of people are like, oh, your power level is only 9,000, whatever, and then like Goku would charge up and then like.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Sorry, the actual moment was where the actual moment. Sorry, I just kind of skimmed over. The actual moment is when, let's say in the first arc, there's a part where Goku, he's like his power level is only like 1. You can beat him up, and then he beats up like one of the baddies, Nappa, and then and he charges up, and he's like, oh, his power level is over 9,000, and then like that's the internet thing, over 9,000.
Over 9,000.
But like because people can just hide it like that, so they were introduced to be meaningless, but it kind of still goes down to that really. What is your full power level?
Yeah, so. I suppose that's fair. Maybe the actual power level idea is meaningless, but like conceptually, like it ends up being a case of like only the main Saiyans, Goku and Vegeta, and basically their kids are powerful enough to actually fight any of the main villains.
Yeah. But yeah, that kind of like trope of manga now has really paved its way for shonen Like a lot, all those kind of main ones kind of go to those tropes of the main hero is a kind of a lovable idiot who loves to eat a lot.
Yeah.
But yet he's like he has a lot of potential.
Yeah.
And
even though he wouldn't train as hard as the other guy is always weaker because he doesn't have the same heart.
He just has the talent and the heart.
Yeah, it's because he never has heart, and until he recognizes that that's his weakness, he can never match the main character.
Yeah. Still, like, one of the best moments in Dragon Ball Z is just Vegeta going like, "You're better than me, Kakarot." And then, in his head, he wouldn't say it to him.
No, there's too much pride.
I would say spoilers, but no, I don't care.
It's Dragon Ball Z. There's no the spoiler tag.
If you haven't watched it, you don't care.
And even if you you do care and you haven't watched it, you probably don't care about spoilers because you know what happens. Because Dragon Ball Z is finished as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
It's like
Dragon Ball Super is out now.
Oh, okay. What's that like?
That's they're pretty much redoing the recent 2 movies that came out.
Oh, interesting.
And it hasn't been the couple episodes animation wise haven't been doing too well, but they're doing that anyway in anime form and beyond.
Okay.
And I watched the first one of those movies, and I haven't watched the recent one with like Frieza comes back. So
again.
Yep.
Man, they just love bringing Frieza back.
They love bringing Frieza back, but he only comes back for like the first time canonically because he didn't technically die the first time. So,
wait, but wasn't there the bit where he comes back as a robot?
Yes, well, like that kind of
And Trunks cut him in half with a sword.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Now we're just talking about Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah,
now we're literally just talking about episodes of Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah,
and I don't know anything aside from
Aquatic Fear, Dragon Ball Z,
Aquatic Dragon Ball Z Fear.
If I was naming episodes, this would be called Aquatic Fear Z. Like
that's actually a good name.
Yeah,
it's a shame we can start naming episodes now.
Yeah, I think
we've actually got
Aquatic Fear Z.
Aquatic Fear Z.
If you guys probably saw already and just like, yep, yeah, I get it.
I get it. No, I get it now.
You don't have to laugh at it.
I've been listening for 33 minutes. You don't have to reference the title of the episode.
But yeah, anyways, yeah, we can talk about Dragon Ball for a lot.
Yeah.
I definitely can, but we'll leave it at that anyway.
So is the manga's all called? And this, I know we said we'd stop, but I just have one last
question. Yeah.
So why is it called Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball? I know there's GT as well, which a lot of people aren't a fan of, but I know that there's.
But that's not canon. That's why.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So GT actually isn't canon at all.
No.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
It was, but. It's just, I don't know, it was called, that's the name of the main comic because he just kept going with it and kept calling it Dragon Ball. But the series, the anime was kind of like, we got to show this is different, you know?
So, oh, I see, of course, yeah. So they're kind of just representing the fact that he's grown up, whereas obviously the manga didn't have the same problem. Because obviously the only people buying and consistently reading it would be fans of the overall comic.
And like Naruto did the same, we'll call Naruto and after
Naruto Shippuden,
yeah. One Piece didn't do that. But they kind of consider now, even in manga form, if you look at the manga volumes, it's called One Piece New World. Like you see that on all the mangas. And
interesting.
Technically, kind of, it's like a different series now anyway. But it's just all called One Piece because that's why you see like they're on 7,000 episodes of One Piece now. Like
Jesus.
No, they're on 700. Like
okay, thank God.
Yeah, 7,000.
That's still too many.
It's a lot. It's a lot of episodes.
It's one of those things where like I look at it, I'm like, I can never catch up.
The only reason why I watched it is because I first watched it when I was younger and I had lots of time. But,
I know what you mean. Yeah. Like that's the reason that I started watching Bleach and Naruto, because as a teenager you have too much spare time, and you're like, oh, it's it's 6:30. I guess I'll watch an episode of whatever. And I don't know if you had this kind of ritual, but I would tend to watch like 2 or 3 episodes a night.
Yeah,
if you know what I mean, and kind of catch up slowly to the main. Hip happenings of the show.
Sometimes I would like binge watching because I'm just so into it, you know. Like and I'm just like, this is really good. I just want to keep watching it.
Wow.
So.
I don't think I ever got to the stage where I'd binge watch, like whole things, but I definitely do it as a regular ritual. And at some stage, as far as I recall, what basically happened was I just broke the ritual. I started doing other things instead.
Yeah.
And then I just never went back.
Oh yeah, because you kind of stopped Bleach after just one point, like, and you just.
Yeah, I can't remember what happened in Bleach. I think at some stage where the filler went like Inception into more filler.
Yeah.
And I was just like, you know what? I think I have to stop now because I'm losing my mind.
Yeah. I know that like Domi, my girlfriend, says that watch this arc, and this arc, and then stop.
That's reasonable, actually.
Yeah.
I know that like, for example, a friend of mine, because we were all watching Bleach at the same time, a friend of mine was like, there's an arc, I'm not sure if it's fairly infamous or anything, but it's called the Bounto arc.
Yeah.
Basically, the plot is there's these things called bountos, and I'm doing
inverted commas again.
Inverted commas again. And they're just vampires. They're just vampires, except they have like puppets. They have like a little puppet that is like they have energy in, and it's like, oh, my puppet is like, a little doggy, and it's like a little doggy doll. And when I go like, ooh, full power, it's like a big wolf or whatever, and that's it. And it's just that for a whole series. And literally nothing happens. My friend skipped the entire series, and he's like, "Did I miss anything?" I'm like, "No, you didn't." It was just a bunch of fights that took a little bit too long to happen. And like, in fairness, some of the fights were really cool.
Yeah, usually they are. Yeah,
but like, all the not fighting was just pointless. It just didn't need to happen, and it didn't need to happen as a series because there was nothing in it. But yeah, now I haven't watched many animes in a while. The last one I watched was Attack on Titan, I think. The last one I watched through was Attack on Titan.
The last one I watched through, like, was all it is right now. Like, I'm not even actually watching One Piece now, because there's been a bunch of episodes. I'm reading the manga now, but the last one I fully watched was Attack on Titan, I think.
Oh, actually, sorry, I also watched Gurren Lagann.
Oh, I haven't seen that one. No.
Oh my god! For those of you listening at home, Gurren Lagann is basically a show about giant robots fighting, but it's like the universe works on rule of cool, basically, is how I would describe it. Like the actual, like the universe that people live in works on the rule of cool. So if something is cool enough, it just works, basically. And so it's great. It's just so much fun. Like, it doesn't even try to make sense a lot of the time. It's just great. It's absolutely worth watching. It's the most, I think it's the most fun I've had watching an anime, because it's just so entertaining. And then there's this great bit where it's also quite clever. And I won't go into it too much because you haven't watched it, but I would strongly suggest you watch it as soon as possible.
Okay.
And then we'll try and chat about it in a podcast or two.
Yeah.
Because in particular, there's elements of the ending which I think are fascinating.
Okay.
Like,
I need to watch more things now.
Genuinely fascinating. Like, I watched it and I literally spent time thinking about it, going like, that was really cool and really clever, and I like what that represented, and I like what that did for like I like what that did subtly, and I like what that did and how you could look at that and think about it. And it obviously means that the people making the show like care and are thinking about what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I really admire that. And I thought that was awesome. And I also watched some Psycho Pass, which I think I finished the first season.
Haven't heard of that.
It's all right. It's basically about sort of a dystopian future where they generate this. They build a system that can like basically analyze a person and decide. And it gives them a thing called a crime coefficient. Again, inverted commas. A crime coefficient, which is like, your crime coefficient is like 40 or whatever, and that means that like your 40 number, and that represents basically how stable the 40. It's not 40%. Basically, it's a number that represents like how sane you are, and the lower you are, the saner you are.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. And then also you've got like a hue, which kind of represents like how your how your mind is changing based on events. So like, whether it's becoming, like, the term they use is cloudy. So like if your mind is becoming cloudy, it suggests that like bad things are happening, and that's reflecting badly on your mental health, and therefore you're becoming more likely to commit crimes. And so basically they've got this on everyone all the time. They're watching them. They can't always like scan someone straight away, like, but they try to do regular scans on every member of the populace, to go, oh, this is what your crime coefficient is. Therefore, your like, your crime coefficient is 47. Your hue is slightly cloudy. You're not likely to commit a crime, but you should seek counseling because something is upsetting you. And then there's this whole system of like, if they scan you and you're, if basically there's a thing called a latent criminal, which is like if they scan you and you are sort of inherently criminal enough that you are always going to commit a crime, if they let you out, they basically just lock you up straight away.
So, good or bad?
So yeah, does it
the series?
The series, it's all right. It doesn't. I don't feel like it does enough with the sort of the ideas of the psychopaths are very interesting. So yeah, sorry. And then you have a psychopath, which is like if you're above a certain limit, you're a psycho, and therefore you've broken your psychopaths.
Oh, okay.
And all the police have guns, and the guns can like scan you instantly to figure out how criminal you are, and they can either stun you or blow you up depending on how evil you are.
Yeah.
And the what is it? Sorry, the police have like a group of enforcers. What they're called, which are basically like latent criminals who work for the police. Basically, it's like, you know, the only thing they can do other than live in prison is to use their sort of latent evilness to work for the cops, because like they can think like a criminal because they are criminals effectively.
Yeah.
And there's some interesting stuff, like you find out in the series that one of the guys who's one of the enforcers is actually an ex-detective from before they introduced what's called the Sybil system, which is the system for scanning people. And basically he like was a traditional detective, and that's the reason he's a latent criminal, because he had to learn to think like a criminal to catch criminals.
Yeah.
And so then when they figured out how to scan people's mind and they scanned his, they found because he spent so much time catching criminals, he effectively is a criminal. And obviously, like, you know, like he's not a bad guy, and like he's actually like a good person. He cares about people and he wants to stop criminals, but his mind is like the mind of a criminal because he had to think like them to catch them, which is kind of a cool concept. And there's things like that that are interesting, but overall it's just a bit sort of overblown and like a bit much, just a bit much. It's not kind of small and clever. It's kind of bombastic at times, and it's all right. No, I mean, I'd say check it out, and if you like it, you like it, and if you don't, you don't. I think that maybe it spends a bit too much time being gory, and I don't know whether or not that's necessary.
Yeah.
Overall, interesting concept. Really, 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 really nicely animated.
Okay.
Really lovely to look at. Really nice visuals.
Animation.
Yeah. Solid animation, solid visuals, solid like aesthetic design. But maybe not the most interesting series.
No, okay. That was a lot.
I'm sorry. That was a lot. I just realized afterwards.
Yeah. And I was just like, I mean, dead air there at that one point. Like.
Yeah, I just needed to breathe.
Yeah. Yeah. You gotta breathe during this.
Oh, you gotta breathe, right?
But that's a big chunk of anime at that point there.
Yeah, Jesus. I didn't even realize this is what happens when you don't have a script.
Probably just like, yeah, and if you're not into anime, that probably just like over your head. Like,
yeah, that's actually true. Maybe we should have some natural breaks around that to be like,
I think so.
If you don't like anime, don't listen, or do, and like, you know, learn something new. But hopefully, it's still accessible to those who don't watch anime.
Hopefully, yeah.
And I mean, if you don't know what anime is, it's just cartoons. It's just cartoons.
Yeah, cartoons.
It's just cartoons.
Made by Japanese people for Japanese people, but they're cartoons.
It's just cartoons. If you like cartoons, you'll probably like it. It's cartoons. Cartoons are nice.
Yeah. Cartoons are cool.
Cartoons.
Yeah, we kind of really have nothing to talk about now. Shit. We're
all out of steam.
Oh no.
You know, actually, one thing I realized when I was listening to the last podcast was Jonathan mentioned that he had to GM a game for his friends.
Oh yeah.
And he never invited us.
He never did.
I'm deeply hurt.
Well, I think he's planning to do another week, so he might invite us. So. Oh,
okay. I was actually I was assuming it might be because remember he mentioned he was doing it with his roommates and 2 or 3 other people, which is already quite a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's you know, that's what, party of 5, which is kind of your solid size.
You never ever want it over 6 people. But I hope that goes well for him. I might be there if I'm still invited.
We should see if we could record the game.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be a bit impromptu and not hugely interesting, but we could give it a shot.
Yeah,
it could be an experimental season 0 D&D recording.
It might not even come up. It might not even be uploaded if it's
if it's not good enough, we could just not upload it.
Because that is a plan of ours. We want to we'll give out a little spoiler for that. But at some point from us, you'll see a live RPG game from us, as in like a tabletop RPG.
Okay, also not live, like recorded, but. Okay, well, actually, no.
Why did I say live?
Because I know what you meant. You meant like on YouTube, like recorded and put somewhere. In fairness, we could also do it live, but I don't think it would be as interesting live. No, because a lot of you know, D&D and other games like that is just decision making, just discussing things and decision making, which is interesting if you're part of the game, but I'd imagine it's a lot less interesting if you're not. Like, I'd imagine if you're watching it, you'd probably want someone to just kind of summarize what's going on.
Yeah, we're discussing the technicalities of it, really, and we're going to see what works and what doesn't work.
Absolutely. So. Yeah.
But it's a plan, anyway, so look forward to that. If you like D&D, there you go.
Yeah, and also, because we didn't give it a proper introduction last time, D&D is a tabletop pen and paper game where you and your friends have a little sheet of numbers that tells you what your character is, and you get given scenarios by a person running the game who's the GM or DM, which means Game Master or Dungeon Master, respectively. and he says like, you know, oh, you find a house, and someone goes, I'd like to walk into the house, and you go, okay, roll your opening the door skill, and so you roll a dice, and the dice tells you whether you succeed or fail.
And the DM is everything but the player characters.
Yeah, exactly. The DM sort of tells the story, and the players take part in it.
Yeah,
like as sort of the main characters. They're like the main actors of a grand play sort of thing.
Like one of the most difficult things. Well, not most difficult, but a very difficult thing I've always tried is like, you know, introducing the idea of just tabletop role-playing games in general to people who just don't understand them at all.
Yeah.
Like it's got kind of when I was doing film in college last year, I decided to do a documentary, a small one, on tabletop role-playing games, and pitching that to my lecturer was just pretty hard because she just didn't really get it, and she didn't think it would make for a good documentary, which she was probably right. Because I don't think it turned out the best as it could, but maybe that's just my doing. I could have made more interesting.
I don't know. I mean, I think there's a really interesting space in role playing games.
Yeah, it has been done before, and it's been done pretty well. But it was hard to explain to her and a lot of my classmates as well. But I think a lot of them got it and kind of got it, but they're just...
Yeah, and I think that shows like Community and the IT Crowd have done a good job. They both have episodes featuring a D&D game.
Yeah.
And I know I've seen the Community one. I haven't seen the IT Crowd one. But my friends who play D&D with me have said that the IT Crowd one is another good example of a show kind of doing justice to the game.
Yeah.
And like I've never... I assume that it's almost certainly in a certain Big Bang episode. And I've no idea whether they fairly represent it or not. I wouldn't know.
It's okay, but it kind of I remember because it's on TV a lot in my house. And I just happened to see. I don't really watch the show, but it was on. I saw a bit of it because it was D&D. I was like, oh, I like D&D.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of done a lot more silly in terms of it.
Okay, yeah, and I can kind of see how that would happen.
Yeah.
Because that like I think someone put it best when they said like the difference between say like something like Community doing an episode on D&D and something like The Big Bang Theory doing an episode on D&D is like, in The Big Bang Theory, the joke is always, the punchline is always that they are nerds.
Yeah. Like,
that's the punchline to every joke. The main characters are nerds, and Penny, as the not nerd, is supposed to represent the viewer.
Yeah.
And that's the whole joke. That's the extent of every joke they make. That there are nerds and there are not nerds. Whereas like shows like Community are like, well, what would a game of D&D look like between these characters?
Yeah.
And you can tell that even if the creators haven't played D&D, they kind of understand what it's about.
Yeah. Well, Dan Harmon, like the showrunner, absolutely loves D&D. So
I mean, based on what I saw in the episode, it seemed very accurate.
Yeah.
I was impressed with that episode.
Like he has a podcast where he just plays D&D games, I think.
That's super cool.
Yeah. I need to listen to him, but I think it's just a podcast where he just plays them, but he's really into it. So I think of course he would if he's in it. But the writers themselves, they did a very good justice. You know?
Yeah, I think they did. I think they did a good job. But yeah, there you go. If you don't know about D&D, I'd say watch the Community episode and maybe the IT Crowd episode. They'll give you an idea.
The IT Crowd episode is really good as well. Actually,
I haven't seen it, so I should watch it.
It's pretty funny.
I've heard consistently good things about it.
Yeah,
I've only heard people say that it's a very good episode and it's a very good. It does justice to D&D.
Yeah. But the game that we did, that I recorded. Because I was like, I got the lads around and I was like, I want to record a game of you guys doing it and get
sorry, for the record, for the viewers, if you're confused, we're going back to the documentary now.
Going back to the documentary part. Sorry.
No, I was keeping track. I just thought I'd say.
Yeah, we got to work on trying to keep our tangents together.
Just pretend that the microphone is the third person trying desperately to understand what on God's good earth are we talking about.
That is perfect. Yeah. Okay, so.
So you're planning your documentary. You've asked your friends around.
I asked my friends to do a game.
Yeah.
And I could not think of a worse example of a D&D game to show.
You told me about this.
And the guys know it. I'm not like making anyone sad with this, but they know this now. That it was a fun game in terms of what you guys what people will play, but like. My friend Kev decided to do a game, and he got a module, a regular kind of one-off castle adventure of a vampire of some sort or something or a cult. But
sorry, we should just clarify. In D&D, you can run the game yourself as the dungeon master, or you can purchase kind of pre-written modules by the guys who make the game, and they'll give you like, oh, here's the different maps, and here's the villain, and here's all the plot twists.
Yeah, like a script.
Exactly. But yeah, basically a script. So like, you know, instead of running a play with your friends and you don't know what you're doing, you get the script to Hamlet, and then you run your friends through Hamlet.
Yeah, exactly.
To keep the play analogy, which I think is somewhat accurate.
Okay, so he got himself one of those scripts, one of those modules of an already written game, and we went through it fine. But first of all, it was one of the players was working. Jonathan. He was in the last episode, so I don't need to say I don't need to say a friend of ours, but it was Jonathan from the last episode. He was working, and he came later. So a lot of the game he wasn't there, but it was they were going to a dungeon. They fought like one ooze, and they got at the end of the ooze fight. I think stuff happened before, but at the end of the ooze fight, Jonathan's character runs in, does a bombastic introduction, which is pretty funny, and he was like, you know, getting into character and stuff, and they get to the end where there's the main baddie, and basically you guys have seen any kind of fantasy or even like any kind of show about heroes and stuff, or show or movie. When the baddie says, join me, you don't say, I will. You say, I want to fight you, and have a great end of a story. You know?
Yeah, I mean, like, not even fancy, like Star Wars.
Yeah.
You know, join me. Together we could rule the galaxy. Like, you're supposed to say, never.
The baddie was a leader of a cult, and he wanted to bring the end of the world. But, you know, my friend Dave, who already is a bit of an evil fellow, as he is. He looks pretty evil, doesn't he?
Oh, wow.
He knows that.
You put me on the spot here.
He knows what he is an evil. No, he is the personification of an evil villain, but he is, you know, the loveliest fellow ever.
No, he's a lovely man.
I love the man.
He brings around the board games. We play the board games.
Yeah. And we'll get him on the show at one point.
Actually, that'd be really fun.
I think he would love to do that.
I think that would be great.
But other than him being a lovely fellow, he is a super villain. Not really a bad person. He's a super villain.
Yeah, he enjoys the scheming, not the actual evil.
Yeah, but as his character, and he must be playing an evil character, but he just said, "I'll join you," and then everybody else is like, everybody except for Jonathan's character are like, "Yeah, I'll join you." Like, I don't want to die because they don't want to die as a character. So what happens at the end is the god of death brings upon death to the universe, and you know, the player characters become rulers of their own parts, and Jonathan like dies or something. He's like tortured forever, but he basically dies, something like that. And I stopped the game, or I stopped the recording, and I was editing up the documentary, and I was like, wow, how can this get people to play the game? It's just there's no fun adventure. Like, you're not playing a movie here. You're just playing a bunch of guys walk into a castle, fight one ooze, and then, you know, agree to the villain's terms.
Yeah.
There's no, like, you know, conflict or anything or stuff. And it was just, you know, I had a couple of interviews there, and they all described about their own personal stories of D&D that were very good, which I might upload at some point, and you might be able to see it.
That'd be cool.
All the stuff I have, but I still have it on my computer anyway.
Awesome.
But it's a bit kind of raw, so it wouldn't be completely polished up.
Sure, whatever.
But I'll do it anyway. But it's the interviews are great because they're all talking about their favorite characters, their favorite moments. But that one game, which made up the bulk of what I wanted the documentary to kind of be about, it just was not
terrible.
It was terrible. Like, was not a very good game.
Oh yeah.
And I guess they were just playing a game, and I guess the game itself was fine, but like, it's just
I think the main thing that I would say, if you are considering playing D&D, or you're only interested now because you're hearing about it for the first time, we don't have enough fans. But, you know, off chance you're listening to this podcast, you've never heard of D&D before, maybe you have, maybe you know about it, but you've never played it, and after listening to our story you're interested. The one thing I will say, and this is something that I always want to drive home, every time I know someone, and Jonathan's actually a great example, because, you know, I started playing D&D when I was maybe 16 in secondary school.
Yeah.
And I've been playing for now 5 years, so I've been playing a lot of D&D, which is freaking weird. Oh, I don't want to think about that. It gives me the willies. But like Jonathan has only started playing the last like maybe year or so when he started in college, right?
Yeah.
Like, and he came to me the first time he played, and he was like, "Oh my god, it's so much fun! Like, why didn't you tell me to play this before?" And I think that's awesome. Like, that's the response I get from everyone who hasn't played before. Like, when they play for the first time, they're like, this is so interesting. This is so cool.
People who play Dungeons and Dragons want more people to play Dungeons and
Dragons.
And
I think what I love about it is how, as a hobby, you're like, you just want more people to play because it's so much fun and you love it, and it's so different to anything else. You like playing D&D with your friends is always going to be different to any video game. Even any board game, really, aside from ones that are similar to D&D in that they would allow you to role play individuals. Like D&D is such a unique structure, such a unique experience.
Like you're gaming, but you're also like, you know, helping like your creative side and just kind of your social skills and stuff. There's a lot to it, and it's a very
It's like, and I think it's a shame. I remember I read somewhere like how one of the greatest frustrations they had with the world as it is that if you play a lot of D&D, like if you play like a lot of I've played 5 years of D&D, if like, you know, in a perfectly fair world, that would go on my CV.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it teaches team building, it teaches conflict resolution, it teaches, you know, like proper allocation of resources, it teaches creativity. Like, it's incredible.
Like, if you're a DM, you have to wrangle up like 5 nerds.
Yeah, exactly. If you're a DM, you have to wrangle nerds, which is like the hardest thing to do. And if you're, and like, you know, even if you're a player in a hard campaign, and like, you know, even like stuff like if you're given a character sheet and you have to like build a character who's powerful, you know, that's a skill in itself, and all those different things. And like every part of D&D can be seen as a skill. Even something as simple as playing a character, acting, you know, being able to empathize, being able to go, well, what would my character do? My character thinks like this, so what would he do in this situation? You know, stuff like that. Like, they're all really useful skills, really interesting like skills to develop. And so it's a shame that like we don't sort of, it wouldn't be necessarily useful to put it on your CV, even though obviously in real life it's a great sort of, you know, it's a great experience, if that makes sense.
It's a very good pastime, and that's why we pick it.
It's more relevant than, say, winning a silver medal at hockey.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that as an insult to anyone in particular, but I just mean in general. Like, if I'm employing people for my company, it's like, oh, you can run good. I mean, I don't know why that's going to matter, because emails can run faster. But like, you know, like
I'll show you.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of D&D, and I'm a big fan of the idea of D&D going on CVs and being something that we talk about, and being something that everyone tries at least once. And not even
you guys are gonna, if you listen to us, you're gonna hear us talk about D&D for a long time.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's gonna be the bulk of this, just this channel in general. Like,
probably, yeah.
If you're subscribed to this channel, you're gonna see D&D videos pop up. Like,
hopefully like interesting ones. And you know, and if you're interested in the hobby, definitely stay tuned.
I'm definitely one, like, and Dan as well. But like, if I'm making videos, I really want to just kind of drive home the fact of getting people to play D&D. I kind of want to introduce it like to a I want to be able to introduce it to people. You know?
Yeah, and the classic advertisement. If you're not sure how to approach your friends about it, you sit them down, or you don't sit them down, because that's really hard in itself. But you just say to them, like, you know, does anyone here want to be Gandalf? Does anyone here want to be Aragorn? Does anyone here want to be Legolas? Because like that's what you can do.
Yeah.
You can play Lord of the Rings. You can play the grand adventure of the wandering party, you know, trying to save the world.
Bringing the MacGuffin to another place.
Yeah, bring the thing to the thing.
Yeah.
Like, classic D&D story. And so, like, by all means, you know, if that's what you need to do to bring it to your friends, then do that. Or if your friends are the kind of people who are attracted more to, say, sci-fi than fantasy, which some people are, quite reasonably.
There isn't D&D, but there's plenty of systems and games. Many. Because D&D isn't the only like tabletop role-playing game, of course.
D&D isn't the only tabletop role-playing game. I think it is one of the first.
Not even like it's one of the first, but it's not even one of the one of the only fantasy ones.
So, I think it's still the biggest. But it's like it's definitely one of the oldest, and you know, if you're interested in fantasy, or you're interested in different parts of the world, different settings, there's almost certainly a D&D game for it. Sorry, there's almost certainly a tabletop game for it.
And there's generic ones, generic systems where you can just make up the setting yourself.
Yeah.
But you know what? We're going to talk about that stuff another time, because I think we're going to kind of wrap up around this time.
Yeah, so good idea.
I think we might do that. But we have, as you can tell, we have a lot to talk about in this subject. So
my God,
we've got too much to.
Yeah.
Well, like, we did think we were gonna have a D&D podcast today,
and then we talked about water and our deep fear of it, our deep fear of the ocean depths.
This is a very weird.
Yeah,
I kind of like it. Like we can just talk about whatever.
No, I like it too.
Whatever, because we're interested in talking about like the water and zoology and stuff.
It's nice. It's nice that we're able to just sit down and chat, and like I think that's my favorite bit about a kind of an unscripted podcast.
Yeah.
You just end up chatting about things. Like I at no stage this week or today did I think, you know what I'm going to talk about with DC. I'm going to talk about the water, like, or the ocean, or the sea. I never once thought about it, and it just happened. And
we didn't think we were going to have anything for this, but once the microphone, like once we press record, it just happens.
Once the dark eye begins staring at us, we can't resist. We have to speak into it.
It's like my microphone has a little light and just always staring at us. But guys, thanks for showing up. If you're listening to this, thanks for listening to it all. That really means a lot to us. If you
thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you've enjoyed yourself. I hope that most of the podcast was interesting. I hope we didn't delve at any stage into something too mysterious or difficult to understand, too sort of vague, or what's what I'm looking for, obscure.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. If you liked the video, you can give it a like, and even if you don't want to give it a like, you could just leave a comment telling us something, anything. Yeah, we'll almost certainly
like if you don't like us, leave a comment saying "butts" instead of "fuck you," because we would prefer just a generic comment other than an insult. But if you have to, I don't care. Like,
actually, no. We
live in a free world here.
We do live in a free world, and if you have any constructive criticism, do feel free to drop it down in comments, because there's literally none, so we'll probably read whatever shows up.
Yeah, and if you know us, and the people who normally give us the constructive criticism anyway, so just keep with that, I guess.
Yeah, that's actually super helpful. Yeah. So thank you so much. So thank you everyone for listening, and have a good day.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.